So we are back with your Elections Debates 2015. We have 2 sabbatical positions left today, which will be VP Welfare and President, of course. But can we start off by please welcoming our penultimate candidates to the stage who are running for VP Welfare. Hi everyone, if you just want to introduce yourselves quickly, we start from this side.
I'm Chibeza.
Do you want to say a bit more?
Oh, sorry. I just wanted my name. I'm Chibeza, and I'd love to be your VP Welfare because I want to support all students and I want the student union to be as inclusive as possible.
Hi, I'm Sam Bailey. This year I've been your Equality and Diversity Officer as well as President of SUSUtv, the LGBT Society. I've been Student Trustee on Trustee Board, making sure that SUSU does its best for students.
I'm Eva Pemberton. I'm a third-year English student and I'm currently Housing Officer for SUSU.
Okay, that's brilliant. Hi, everyone. So currently, we don't measure the impact of awareness campaigns. Why do we bother running them if we can't judge how effective they are? Eva, do you want to start?
I think awareness campaigns are so important because there's so much a lot of students don't always know about, the issues that we do provide. And I think also, even if the issue doesn't affect you, it just sort of broadens you as a person and, to be more aware of things that are going on, within the university, within the world outside. I mean, that's what the union shapes you for. So again, even if we just address a few people, we don't always measure, a wide variety of people. At least we know that we're going to get somewhere. It's better than not doing anything at all.
Okay, and Sam?
Awareness campaigns are, of course, important. They're letting students know information about the things that really matter to them. It's the money in their pocket, it's the food they're eating, it's the house they live in. We might not measure it with one single figure, but I think we do in the way that we reach out to students. We measure how many students have got engaged with this, how many students have taken part. We can do, like the housing survey 2 years ago, we can do another one and track the changes. So we are measuring the impact of these awareness surveys. There is more we can do to make sure that we are really targeting the issues that matter to students, but I think we really need to carry on doing these campaigns.
Okay.
I personally think it's quite hard to measure the impact of awareness campaigns because with things like abuse and sexual assault, it's quite hard because it can range from people saying, oh, I didn't think about this, like that, or actually people going out and getting help and finding out what resources they can access. So I think as long as it helps one person at least, it's good enough for me.
Okay, and do you think, you said it's quite hard to judge there, but can you pick out from your memory a particular campaign that was really successful and you thought should definitely be done again? Sam?
Over the past month, it's been LGBT History Month. We've had loads of different events on, and we've got some really great feedback about these different events from students who wouldn't have ordinarily got involved. We've had film screenings where people said, actually, that film raised issues I hadn't thought about before. We've had an entire magazine with the Wessex scene and The Edge, and people have read that and thought, I haven't even begun to look at these issues. So we've actually brought these issues to students in a way that they hadn't seen them before. So I think that was really successful.
Brilliant. Chibeza?
I personally was involved with the same committee that stands on equality and diversity, and for Black History Month we put out, me both as Sam, put out some posters and kind of resources about famous people of colour around university and what their contribution was to, the world. I think it's important for people to feel represented and feel appreciated on your campus, and you can have inspirational people around the campus, so I think it really did help and a lot of people appreciated it.
Okay, and Eva?
Yeah, I think the LGBT month worked really well. Even myself, I was looking through the magazine, there were some really thought-provoking articles, and it's nice that other people thought that as well, and it sort of broadens your mind to other people and underrepresented groups. The other thing that I volunteered at was the housing fair, which is quite a main thing for students. And again, that could have been done better, but we did find that a lot of people were really listening to us and thought, oh, actually, I'm going to wait for housing. And, they really got some good feedback for it, and, we gave them a good advice. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, talking about housing, one of the biggest issues facing students is getting ripped off by unfair landlords and moving into private rented accommodation. So what would you do to help improve this for students? Sam?
I really think we need to get students the first moment they arrive. We need to get information into the freshers' packs so that the first thing they see is us telling them, hang on, don't rush into the housing, there's plenty of houses available, rather than the first thing they see is a posh pad's leaflet shoved under their door. We need to capture it there, rather than waiting for a sort of a campaign that starts quite late, rather than just some different things going on that don't really catch people's imagination. We need to be there. First of all, we need to catch them really early. And thanks for the feedback about the LGBT History Month.
Well, that's something good that's come out of today.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, Chibeza, same question to you.
Yeah, I think there should be, the event about your rent survey was great, and I think there's something should be similar about that and try to get average house prices so students know, according to area, like what kind of prices are, what's okay. Because when you're buying a new house, you don't really know how many, like, what the minimum amount of fees that you should be paying or what the maximum is. I think that'd be really helpful for students so they're not taking the mick out of you.
Okay, and Eva?
Yeah, I mean, one of the most important things with housing is sort of knowing your rights. We can't really do anything about the agencies because they're always going to be there. But, you know, students don't have a standard to adhere to. You know, they think, oh, well, you know, maybe agencies shouldn't be giving us, 5 hours notice for viewings, but they don't have the confidence to actually go there and say to the landlord, look, you shouldn't be doing this. And this is what we need to provide, like from day one, we need to say to them, you don't need to rush. And currently something we're working on is like a housing guide. We've sort of named it Housing Bible. And that would be there from sort of day one, and you can just consult that. And we're actually going to put pictures in it to say, well, this is like your basic house, this is the, the medium, and this is the sort of best standard you're going to get, so that people actually know, this is what we should look out for.
Okay, so that's all well and good, but say you have some people that totally ignore you and they go and get the house anyway with their best friends that they've known for about a week, and then people get to that stage, and I know a lot of people that have terrible arguments and feel they're in the position where they have to move out. I don't really think there's much support for people like that at the moment, so what would you do to help people that are in that situation, Eva?
Definitely. We've got the advice centre, we've got, peer support, all those kind of advice groups that are really there to kind of help that. Unfortunately, there's not a lot you can do once you're in a contract, but it does need to be, someone that you can go to, you can talk to, and you can say, look, how are we going to sort this out, this situation? So I think it's just creating more awareness of, going to the advice centre, and not necessarily just them as well, maybe sort of a separate thing that we can set up just for, living with people, and also maybe like a guide that you get in when you move in, and it says, how to handle these sort of situations. Not to patronise, but just so you've got a guide there and you can know. Yeah.
Okay. And Sam?
I think it's really important that whenever students get their house, whether it's the first week, whether it's the last week of term, you make sure they have the information they need, so they know their rights, they know where they stand, and they've got the confidence to talk to the landlord. We also do need to make people more aware of the services we can offer. So the advice centre, we need some kind of drop-in housing clinic where you can go just talk to someone with just a tiny problem you might have. You might want to go and not want to go and book an appointment, sit down, but just drop in like, oh, hang on, could you check this on my contract for me? Just something like that where the information is really, really accessible.
Okay, and Chibeza?
If you're having issues with your housemates, I think it's great to have a mediator, and I feel like SUSU should probably try and have someone who could come and discuss this contract, to get it known, to let all your housemates know that if it is a contract, it's hard to get out of, and the kind of things that you can do to basically not have arguments. But obviously that's hard in a house, you're sharing houses with people, but I do think mediators are pretty important, and it could be your landlord, but it could be someone at the university.
Okay, brilliant. So sustainability always seems to be high on the university's agenda, but we came just 127th this year in the People and Planet Sustainability League table out of 151. So what do you think the union should be doing about this? Chibeza?
I think there should be fun incentives to get students to recycle and get students to reuse things, such as, I think it'd be great to have a freshers furniture kind of swap shop thing. So if you're in your third year, you don't want to necessarily take your lamps and your vases with you to your next house. You can just give them away to freshers so they can decorate their areas. And I think things like encouraging textbooks and important leaflets and pamphlets to be digitized, so you're not just wasting so much paper. I think it's a big issue that so much paper gets wasted at university because a lot of it we don't need.
Eva?
I was just going to say, in that league table, the main thing we came out of was sustainable food and sort of carbon emissions and things. And one of my points in my manifesto is about sort of making more ethical food choices and maybe locally sourcing produce for the cafes and obviously making it a little bit more healthy for students. And again, I would echo Chibeza's point about, making it fun. I mean, this year we've had a few swap sessions which have been run by volunteers, where people bring their own clothes in and then they trade them in for new ones. And I think just different things like that, like Free and for Sale is a group that works really well on Facebook. We should bring that into the university and have actual, car boot sales and do it just get students more involved in the fun side of sustainability. And because at the end of the day, it's going to help things long term as well, and even employability, that will benefit. So yeah.
And Sam?
While it might look like the university is not doing a great job in that league table, we actually boycott that league table. We don't give them the information they need. So we're 121st or something like that.
127.
If we gave them the information, we wouldn't be there. We do a lot. So actually, that is not a true representation of where we are. We do a lot for sustainability. We've got the blackout scheme that started 3 or 4 years ago. It's now gone around the world. There's a university in British Columbia who are taking it on. We need to make sure that sustainability is fun and friendly for people to get involved in. So these big things where they can get other skills out of, like bees, blackout, really great to get people involved in.
Okay, thank you. You have all these ideas of ways you want to help people with welfare, and you offer all these great things, but I think probably the hardest thing is actually getting people to know about them. You may offer all these services, but there are a lot of people that are not aware of them, so how would you change that, Sam?
I think we need to make use of, when we're doing like a housing campaign, we need to get students who are passionate about housing to help us with that campaign, to help reach out to students. We need to do that across everything. Recently we ran an accessibility discussion forum. We asked students with disabilities to come and tell us what they'd like us to change. It's really important that we have that conversation. We find out what students want rather than just presuming. We can sit in an office, we can say, I think students would like this. Let's go and ask them. Let's go and see what they want us to change.
Okay, Chibeza?
I think that, sorry, what was the question again?
So I was asking, you offer all this support, but what if people aren't aware of it?
I think social networking campaigns will be the best because that's where most students are on. And I think it's such a powerful tool to get people involved.
Okay. Eva?
I do agree that student volunteers are probably the best thing we have at the moment, and really kind of getting them involved is going to be a starting point, and then go on to social media and things. Like we do have a volunteer base for the housing campaign, but it's just on a Facebook page. We're not getting involved enough. We're not allowing those students to really do what they can do and really get involved. I think the things with sort of like advice groups I've written in my manifesto about just creating more integration between them and just sort of collaborating a bit more and sort of getting them for ideas, because at the moment we're not really doing that, I don't feel.
Okay, great. So finally then, this year we've had a higher proportion of women full-time officers than ever before. We've got more women on union council and the trustee board as well, and more women have been voting as well than men for the first time ever, though it's still disproportionately more men vote. Do you think the battle has been won with gender and voting? Chibeza?
Sorry, what was the last bit?
Yeah, I don't
I can't hear you.
Do you think the battle has been won between gendered voting? Do you think it's more equal?
If it's still disproportionate, then the battle definitely hasn't been won. I think there's an issue with, even with like VP roles, of you not seeing women in those roles, you not seeing women winning those roles. So you can't really think of yourself, if you're not represented, why should you vote? But you need to get students and everyone to realise that the only way that you can get representation if you vote or if you get involved.
Okay, and Eva?
Yeah, I mean, this would be, addressing some of the ideas that were discussed in the DCI and Democracies debate. And I definitely agree that there's just not an equal representation across the union, and we really need to do something about that. And I think, again, it's reaching into these volunteers and, making what we do, students more aware of it, because that's the basis of the union. So, yeah, definitely just increasing, more awareness of what we do and just making people feel like they can be involved, and that, if you're a SAB and you're sort of isolating yourself, that's no good, and just going off your own ideas, I feel like, I think you just need to be really approachable, and just people can come to you for a chat whenever they want, and, just getting some ideas together.
Okay, and Sam?
Over the past year, I've been Equality and Diversity Officer, so we've focused on a lot getting these underrepresented groups involved and changing things in SUSU. We've had the Inspiring Women event. We're planning International Women's Week events now with FemSoc, Women in Business. It's really important that we hold these events to celebrate lots of different diverse groups. If you show, actually, SUSU is for people like you, just because you might look in and think, actually, it's not for me, I can't get involved, actually welcoming people in. We need to make sure that everything we do follows that pattern. So that's services, activities, facilities. We need to take a long, hard look and make sure we're doing the best we can for all of these different groups.
Okay, thank you. So if you all now just want to have a little quick roundup of your main points and why you're running. Eva, if you want to start.
Okay, so obviously one of the main ones is housing. I'm also so that's mainly just the education, knowing your rights, getting it in early. Then I want to focus on like health and safety, so going back to the basics, like physical health, sexual health, mental health, just creating more awareness of this. And then again, like the sustainability side of things, and obviously getting more support with advice groups and student volunteers. I'm really passionate about this role. I've had a bit of experience in the uni, but I feel like the things that I might have missed out on makes me more of an average student that more people can relate to, and I really just want to represent everyone. So.
And Sam?
I'm focusing on all the things that really matter to students, whether that's the money that you have, whether that's mental health. I want to make a culture where you feel comfortable talking about your mental health, where you feel comfortable getting the support you need, whether it's a fair deal on housing, getting the job you want after uni. These are really important things I think SUSU needs to do more on. I've got the ideas, experience, and the track record to show I can get things done. So please shout with Sam for a VP Welfare who makes a difference.
And finally, Chibeza.
I would love to get students involved with government policy, especially local government policy, and especially disabled students, seeing as they're especially getting hit very hard. I also want to run an abuse awareness campaign for student relationships, and just offering any resources of any way that the student can help and how the uni can help you with your studies if that's affecting you. I also want to end discrimination inside housing, with housing. So all boy groups kind of don't get tended to show the best houses because they're assumed to be the messiest. But I don't think that practice is even legal. And the second thing I also lastly would like to just make sure everyone had a fun and exciting and creative experience at university.
Okay, thank you so much. So that is your candidates for VP Welfare. We're just going to take a little break and then we'll be back with the all-important president. Thank you.